Hi, welcome back, and we're here talking with Mattias, and we're going to continue talking about ways to make a smaller implant, I guess, and we're not, there's no way we're going to stop progress, so we've got to somehow do a better job of handling the number of people we have in the world and working with that. And you were talking, first of all, of maybe the reluctance of big corporations, of course, if they've got a lot of investment and things, they don't really want to see new things. But what about if we've gone to college and we've learned how to do things a certain way, are we really willing to do them a different way? Is that a problem as well? Or?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, engineers out there that are ones that are often signing off certain materials, they know what they've always been working with. So if a new material comes along, you know, they're reluctant to change because there's always a risk involved in trying out something new. But innovation brings a lot of opportunities with it. But in this industry, which is a very conservative industry, building and construction, we need, you know, new innovative thinking to really bring all of those green opportunities that we have got to the table. We need to innovate, and we need to get the scientists, the engineers, the architects, the procurement people in companies, government procurement, all on board. I mean, we're talking about, you know, moving towards green technology, moving towards greening our economies. But if there is no buying of green, then that will happen with a very, very slow pace.
Right, right. And so how do we do that? Do we change the way that we're teaching in universities, or do we give tax advantages to corporations who start moving in the green area, or do we do all of those things? Or what areas are you working in, and what areas do you think are going to work best for us, say over the next 20 years or so?
I think at the beginning of such a revolution, some tax incentives could be very beneficial to get the market kick-started. Because at the beginning, when people produce green materials, they have a small volume production initially. If you produce small volume and your distribution system is not yet that efficient, you're going to have higher costs. And for example, in Malaysia, that is what the government has done. They have started to provide tax incentives for people who buy green technology, green materials as part of going for green building certification. And I know here in the Philippines, some of my friends here are working hard as well on the Philippines green building certification system. So hopefully some similar incentives we will see there as well. But we need the government to actually show the market that this means business. If government has got preference to buying green materials, you know, as long as functionality and price is the same, let's go for green. And even if the price is maybe slightly higher, we should still favor green materials because there is a hidden cost in not going green.
Right.
Who pays for all of the air pollution that we have in the Philippines? Who pays for cleaning up of the rivers? You know, it costs millions, billions to clean up the rivers. Where does the pollution come from? So we need to really go from bottom up. We need to focus on green products, green production, green services. We need to green all of our lives and all of our businesses and work from within industry, work from within academia, introduce green components in all of the things that we teach at universities, at schools. That was one of the reasons why I kind of went on the green path. Maybe that helped to influence my journey to give me the chance to win the greenest person on the planet title by, you know, getting this education, getting this focus, developing this passion, and doing green at home in my own life. Like my electricity bill is less than $10 in Malaysia. Because I don't use air conditioning, and I don't really hardly use any electricity. And at the same time, you know, I have a green pension system, for example. And I think that was one of the reasons, as you asked early on the question, you know, what made you greenest person on the planet? I think people seem to appreciate that I had a holistic approach. You know, my personal lifestyle, my business, all my time. You know, green building material, that's where my money is. A risk investment. I do a lot of training courses for corporates, some in kind for schools and other non-for-profit activities. So my home life, my business life, and my future pension, everything is green from top to bottom, even investments that I make, all with the criteria earning some decent return and doing good and benefiting this planet rather than destroying this planet.
I hear you, and you're very passionate about it, and I think that's wonderful. The problem is how do we sell this? You know, I'm a brander, you know, and I've been in advertising most of my life, and I felt that the whole environmental thing has been sold in the wrong way. People are selling it for what's going to happen 50 years down the road. I'm interested in having clean air for my daughter tomorrow, who's 7 years old right now, and maybe if we turn this, the way that we brand it or the way that we sell it, you know, look at 12% of the kids here have asthma.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And that we need to take care of that today, not 20 years down the road or 30 years down the road. So how do we turn these things that you're doing individually on your own, how do we brand that? How do we sell that to people so that they'll do something about it today? And not say, I don't want to hear about this 20 years down, 30 years down. A guy like me is not going to be around 30 years down the road. So you know, how do we do that? Are you working in that area as well? In the actual, I know that you're setting a good example, but how do we convince people to start doing something about it today?
Yeah, I mean, my movement on Facebook, Eco Warriors Malaysia, was about let's do it here and now. Let's not just talk about it. This weekend we have in Kuala Lumpur mega tree planting weekend. We have 2 different locations, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and with a couple of hundred people we'll plant about 5,000 trees. And these trees will be looked after in the future to capture as much carbon as possible. And one of them is a restoration of a degraded peat swamp. Peat swamps have about 5, 10, 15 meters of organic matter in them. They have about 10 times more carbon stored in them than normal rainforests. So we are restoring one of those. But coming back to this fundamental question of how to make it here and now, we need to make it relevant to people.
Right,
to
exactly.
their daily lives.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, one message is, you know, prevent your children, as you rightly say, to have long-term problems with their lives. You know, every time I come to Manila, I get a throat infection. If I stay here more than 4 days, I mean, what does that tell me? You know, we have a problem here. It's costing us a huge amount of money. It's affecting our lives, our children's lives. We need to get rid of the pollution because it's costing us an arm and a leg. It's influencing our lives. We need to make it sexy as well to be green.
Exactly.
You know, we need to get some celebrities involved, and we need to show people examples. You know, at the moment people think to have a big car, to have a big house, you know, to drive around with a driver. That is the way of expressing that you are successful in life. You know, if you're a business person, you know, those status symbols are what you need. Less is sometimes more. We overload our lives, you know. I realized that when I lived in the UK for nearly 10 years, after I moved from the UK, I was shocked how many things I bought, wasted money, that I never needed. So, you know, we need to look at, you know, how we can live a more self-sufficient life with less material, loading our lives up with material. That all contributes to a carbon footprint. So I'm advocating here and now, you know, not waste too much of our time, too much of our money with overloading our lives with unnecessary things. You know, just a simple small radio, if you buy it, you know, it's generated pollution possibly in several countries in the world. Some where the minerals have been mined, you know, for the electronics in there, you know, maybe it's been manufactured in China. Some of the effluent might contain, you know, heavy metals from the manufacturing process or solvents, you know, for some of the glue that has been used, epoxy glue, whatever. So these things are relevant. When you come home tonight, you know, what about your indoor air quality? Are you living in a safe place? I remember a couple of years ago, I came here to the Philippines. I moved into my hotel room. They just refurbished the hotel room. I nearly got knocked out by the stench smell of these aggressive chemicals that had been used in the glue. So I went down to the reception. I said to these guys, you give me a different room here, I'm gonna be out, because I don't want to damage my health by living in a room tonight with a massive concentration of so-called volatile organic carbons. This is toxic. If your child is at home in a room where you've got furniture, cabinets, glues, or some material that's been used to polish the wooden floor, you know, they are breathing in toxic air. This is relevant here and now today from a health perspective, from an economical perspective, and from a quality of life perspective. And you need to look at home at where are you polluting your life through food, through what you're drinking, through the air you're breathing, and how you can clean up your personal life and help with that to change our attitudes and clean up the planet.
You mentioned something about planting trees, you know, and I'm big on trees myself. Yes. And actually this Friday, I will be sponsoring this coffee clutch that we have. And we're going to be talking about trees, and I'm hoping that that Joseph will be there, because he's actually down in Mindoro and working out ways that you can make tree planting and tree agroforestry a profitable business. And it's one thing to say, okay, we're going to fix the environment by planting trees. It's another thing to convince small farmers that if they plant these trees, that 7 years down the road they're going to have cash crops and they're going to be able to keep turning these things over. And so if you get enough of those people doing that, it's even better than you going out and planting 5,000 trees on a weekend, because we're going to have something sustainable, you know, for the future. So that's one area that I'm big on, is the fact that we have to reforest the Philippines. I think I was talking to someone a month or so ago that we're down to about 2.5% of the forest that we had. Wow. We're down that far, which is a scary sort of thing. So we have cement, we have trees. You've talked about volatile materials in our own homes, but what are some